Are we back in a bull market, or is what's happening with Bitcoin right now just a bull trap? Plus, in this video, I want to discuss the trades I'm watching in both the crypto and Forex markets. First, we need to understand where we are right now and what's going on with this move, especially since it's a critical time with the ongoing conflict in Iran, which usually has a negative impact on the markets. However, in this context, we see Bitcoin starting an upward move, even though we were previously in a downtrend. But it seems that within this downtrend, we have a V reversal, right? A reversal pattern that has broken out to the upside. What needs to happen now to conclude whether this is a bull trap or if we're back in a bull market? Since we have successfully broken through this important price zone, the price really shouldn't drop back below $72,000. If we manage to stay above this zone and also close the week above 72,000, then we can confidently conclude that the price is back in an uptrend, and we should expect to see new all-time highs in the near future. This would indicate strong bullish momentum and could signal further upward movement as buyers continue to step in and support the market at these higher levels. Overall, maintaining this position above 72,000 is a key factor for continued growth. The most important part is that this setup is clearest on the USDT dominance chart, right? And we see a reaction from the resistance zone here. And after that reaction, we had an aggressive pullback and continued with this sideways movement that had a false breakout to the upside. And according to my technical analysis, when you have a V reversal and a false breakout to the upside, the price will have a valid breakout to the downside. Besides that, we also see a retest of this resistance zone in the form of a bearish flag, and now we're in a downward move. So throughout today, we need to see the price return to this low and start forming new lows to complete and reinforce the idea of returning to bull market territory, a point where investors would be interested in taking buy positions. Good. The trades I'm watching today in the crypto market are as follows. Since we've already had the breakout of this bullish flag and the upward move has started, I'm currently on the sidelines waiting for one specific setup. I'm waiting for the previous day's high to be broken. Ideally, I'd like to see a consolidation move below this resistance zone, followed by a breakout, then an entry on the retest of the previous day's high with a stop loss below the consolidation, aiming for a 1-to-2 ratio or using a trailing stop to capture more of the move, following the price based on how aggressive the momentum is. If I want to follow this setup and execute it on other coins, I'll also analyze Bitcoin dominance. And if when the Bitcoin breakout occurs, I see a downward movement starting on Bitcoin dominance, I'd be interested in executing the setup on other coins because there's a much higher probability of having increased volatility there compared to Bitcoin. In case you want to understand much more about these aspects, I also have that 100% free trading course. It doesn't cost you anything. I'll explain at the end how you can get your hands on it. Let's quickly look at investments too, and then we'll go through Forex. I personally follow what's happening with the S&P very closely, and as long as the S&P is in this sideways movement, it gives me peace of mind that the investment sphere is still in a moment that could have a chance to bring us new gains, especially since I like how the US economy looks in terms of the figures from the economic calendar. What bothers me is just that conflict in Iran, which brings a certain amount of uncertainty. Similarly, I see that on gold, we have a breakout movement at the bottom of this trend. And normally, this downward impulse should now continue to bring a risk on sentiment to the market. But we can truly talk about a risk on sentiment if we go below $4,400. Right now, we're at a point where the sentiment is mixed, and we can even still talk about risk off. Another chart I'm following during this period, due to and actually because of the war in Iran, is the oil chart, which negatively impacts investments as well, as long as we have new upward movements, because we know rising oil prices can cause inflation. Inflation will automatically not allow the Fed to consider rate cuts, and from here, things negatively impact the investment sphere. But we have to see how it evolves in the coming days. Let's see what I'm following on the Forex side. Here we see that we had a downward movement. Yes, following the news related to Iran, and we see that this movement is quite aggressive. And in such situations, you think, okay, there might be a corrective movement before a new impulse. That's exactly why, by expanding on a smaller time frame, we realize that here too we can talk about a potential V reversal. Yeah, we see an aggressive movement at the bottom, a recovery, and then a sideways movement. If we're doing intraday, we'll focus on the idea of this sideways movement and trade within this sideways movement. I'll expand a bit on a smaller time frame. Here we see that we have a potential bullish flag that comes and tests the London Open. I'd look for long positions, but with a much lower risk once we have this breakout. But why do I say with a much lower risk? Because following the idea of lateral movement after the reaction from resistance, the price can go towards support. And this impulse that we consider a bullish flag, it might have already reached a profit target. That's exactly why. If we're looking for a setup based on the idea of a breakout and retesting the open, the risk should be a reduced one. What interests me the most is to see if I have a breakout of the previous day's high. And from there, I would go with the normal risk, or what I would execute under conditions that I see as more favorable for me. If you want to get, as I was saying, the trading course, you have a pretty simple step to perform. Use the link in the description and create an account on BingX. And after you followed the verification steps, also make a volume of $100. And then send me an email at the address in the description to give you access to the course, where you'll receive all the strategies that I use, how I analyze, how I make my trading plan, what the execution setups are, and of course, journals that help you refine your entries and of course, achieve what you aimed for when you thought about profit. And all that's left for me is to wish you a wonderful day ahead. Good luck with everything you set out to do. And of course, last but not least, smile more often because it doesn't cost you anything.